Hi everybody, welcome back to SlipTwpKnit. I'm Shelby and I come to you from Shelby Township, Michigan, which is where I do my knitting. If you are a new viewer, thank you for giving me a chance, and if you are a returning viewer, thank you for coming back. If you're new here, a little bit of backstory. My name is Shelby. I come from Shelby Township, as I said, and the locals around here, we call Shelby Township Shelby Twp or the Twipp. So therefore, I'm Shelby from the Twipp on pretty much all my social media, and the name of my podcast, I took the Twipp part and I mashed it up with the decrease stitch slip knit, ergo that's how we have SlipTwpKnit. Try saying it 5 times fast. Thank you for tuning in today. I realize I'm probably a couple days behind on my uploads. I can talk a little bit about that at the end of this episode. So I just remembered I forgot something in the other room. I will be right back. You guys didn't even notice I was gone. So anyway, it's Thursday. I'm actually not at work today. I'll talk about that at the end of the episode, as I said. But it's super cold in the house. I'm drinking coffee, and I bought this mug at Fiber Expo last fall. I don't remember who the vendor was, but if you zoom in on the mug, it has little sheep on it, and they're running around on hills, like they're in a hilly little paddock or pasture. So that's what I'm doing right now. Focus. Okay, I guess that's good enough. Anyway, so I have one FO to share with you, and then I have a couple of updates on, well actually no, I have an update on a WIP, and then I have 2 projects that were not cast on in my last episode. So, to commence, I have not even touched this coffee. I just wanted it because it's warm. So, as far as FOs go, I have finished my second pair of Hermione's Everyday Socks, and I finished these when I was on the plane home from San Francisco last week, which would have been a week ago today. So they've been all done for almost a week. I haven't worn them yet because I had to share them in the podcast, and I had to put in I had to show where I was last time you were watching, or in my last episode where I was. So in the last episode, if you zoom in on my cute snowman progress keeper, I had only done I'd only done 7 pattern repeats. So I finished him while I was in California. Well, no, I was on a plane back to Michigan from California when I finished him. But if you're unfamiliar, Hermione's Everyday Sock is a free pattern on Ravelry. It's a very popular one. It's very simple. It's got some fun texture. I love texture. And this is my second pair of Hermione's Everyday Socks that I have made. The yarn that I'm using is, I bought this at my local yarn store I bought this yarn at my local yarn store on Local Yarn Store Day. And I bought it at Crafty Lady Trio, which is maybe 5 minutes away from my house. And then this is the yarn that I got is Alexandra, The Art of Yarn, and it was in a color specific for Local Yarn Store Day 2019, and I believe there was another name associated with it called Silverton. But this is my Hermione's Everyday Socks, and now I can wear them because I've shared them. So I'm gonna wear them tomorrow. So as far as WIPs go, I will talk a little bit about some things that I worked on while I was in California and some things that I've started since, and some updates. I have a WIP update for the first time in forever, I think, probably. So, I'm not a coffee drinker. It was warm. It was easier to make coffee than it was to make tea. Anyway, sorry. So I talked a little bit about the socks I finished while I was in California. I also want to talk about the other socks that I worked on while I was in California. So if you don't mind, I'm going to show you these. These are the fluffy Nanook socks that I talked about in my last episode. The pattern is by Twin Stitches Designs, and they were in my favorites for like a long time because they're so freaking cute. But to be completely honest, I was intimidated by the idea of doing color work because, to be quite frank, I think color work is difficult. So anyway, I did decide to do them because I'm not going to get any better at color work if I avoid it. So I decided to do these. These are the fluffy Nanook, as I said. They're super cute. They have a polar bear on them, as you may be able to tell. The yarn I'm using in both cases, the blue is, they're both Knit Pick Stroll, but the blue is called Sapphire Heather and the white is called White. Shocker. Not a whole lot going on here. I'm knitting these on US zeros right now, and I started them on US zeros, but for the color work section I did go up to a size US 1, and I'm about to go back to a size US 1 because where I am now, I'm going to be ready to start the next color work section and the next polar bear. So a little bit about this design. I don't really think there's a whole lot about the design that is really it's nice. I was doing these with a heel flap and gusset, and I had knit the heel flap, completed the heel turn, but when it came time to pick up the stitches for the gusset, I kept getting gaps. And I tried and tried and tried and tried, and I said, this ain't working. So what I ended up doing was I ripped back to here, and I decided to go in straight stockinette until I am ready to do the next color work section. Once that's done, I'll do the next sock the same way, and then I'll just put in an afterthought heel because I kind of like afterthought heels. They're scary, but they're fun. They give you like a thrill. If you're an I feel like adrenaline junkies probably do really like an afterthought heel. I bet adrenaline junkies don't even like, they just kind of freewheel it. They just kind of live on the wild side. That's what I'm guessing. I don't know for sure. Don't take my word for it. Anyway, fluffy Nanook socks. But because I'm me, I usually have 2 sock projects on the needles at all times. Sometimes I get a little crazy and I have 2 or 3 on the needles, but not today. Today I only have 2 sock projects on the needles, and these are ones that I started last Saturday, and I'll tell you a little bit about them when I get to it. But because I finished 1 pair of socks, I started another. That's how I roll. But I am working on another pair of Hermione's Everyday Socks, and the yarn I'm using is from Unique Knits in Royal Oak, Michigan, and I bought it at their annual sale that they have the weekend after Labor Day. So this yarn is Malabrigo. I've never used Malabrigo before. This is Malabrigo Mechita in the color 728 Cello. It's gorgeous. This yarn is gorgeous. The minute I saw it, I knew I needed it, and I knew since the minute I saw it that I was going to make Hermione's Everyday Socks with it. So I'm going to show you a little bit about it. So that's, I don't know if you can see the texture very well with just how colorful the yarn is, but I think it's really pretty. It reminds me of almost like a granny stripe blanket or an Afghan. And then this is what it looks like caked up. Super gorge. And I have my project page on Ravelry, and I call these my Hermione's Everyday Socks 3. I also have another name for them, and I call them This is gonna sound bad. I call them the grandpa's dying socks. And the reason I say that is because I cast these on last Saturday while my grandpa was dying. I know that sounds weird. My grandpa, so I got home from California on Thursday at like midnight. And then on Friday I was working from home because I just got back so late. And this was my dad's father. I've spoken of him before, I think maybe in episode 3 or 4. But he's 90, he was 91 and he wasn't doing very well for a while. And my mother actually spent all day last Friday over at my grandpa's house with my aunt because they, either while I was in California or on Friday, they put him back on hospice, which was good. But definitely on Saturday, we went over there to just kind of sit so my dad wasn't over there alone and to say goodbye. And my sister's a social worker and she specializes in gerontology and palliative care. So so she knows what she's talking about. But it was very clear while we were over there that he was transitioning. But because I need to have something to do with my hands, I cast on another pair of socks, which is why I'm calling them my grandpa's dying socks. If you go on the project page on Ravelry, you will learn a little bit. I wrote a little ditty about my grandfather, just because I felt like it. So if you want to learn a little bit about my grandfather, go to my Ravelry page. I'm lucky to have had him for as long as I did, and I will say that. Lighting change, hair change, what can you do? So I talked about my sock projects, and now I have a whip update for the first time in like months. So those of you who are new here won't have seen, or maybe you have if you watched an old episode, but well, if you watched an old episode, you're not exactly new, are you? You're only new for one day, or one episode as it were. So, update on my love note. So the love note, if you are if you're unaware or not familiar, this is a pattern by tincanknits, and it's a sweater that you either knit out of DK weight yarn or fingering weight with mohair, and it creates a nice halo. If you can see the halo like over here on mine. And this I am knitting out of Stress Knits Tweedy base in the color Betty, which I have a little bit here, and I'm holding it double with this little wad of mohair, and the mohair is Shibui Silk Cloud in the color Ash. Regarding my love note though, I have said in several previous episodes I was a little bit further, and on this specific sweater the hem in the back is longer than it is in the front, and in order to achieve that the pattern has you doing wrap and turns. I am really bad at wrap and turns apparently. So what I ended up doing was I kept saying I'm gonna rip back, I'm gonna, you know, either do German short rows or I'm just gonna do a regular hem that's the same length all around. But the thought of having to rip out that many stitches with 2 hells of yarn held double, and also just that many stitches, because there's like 100, well, more than 100, there's like 225 stitches that I had to rip back, which means I had to go back with my interchangeable needles, like string the cable through a bunch, and I didn't even do it right at one point. And regardless, so it was an adventure and a half to do, It took me an hour and a half, but I did it. I accomplished it. And then now what I'm gonna do is I'm just going to keep knitting, and when I get to the desired-ish length, because there is still ribbing that needs to be done to complete the hem, regardless, I'm just gonna keep knitting until I get to the desired-ish length, and then I'm gonna decide, do I want my hem to be longer in the back than it is the front, or am I just gonna do a regular hem? So I'm not making that choice yet, but the good news is I've actually taken a step and done something about it, which I've been saying since like November that I was gonna do. So maybe it was even October. So that's what's going on. I'm really happy with it. I'm really happy with where I am. I'm gonna keep going. It was in my, so resolutions fail. In my last episode, I said that I wanted to have, by the end of January, the body and one sleeve completed. That obviously isn't going to happen because today's the 30th. This episode probably won't even go live until tomorrow, the 31st. So that was a resolution. Well, not quite a resolution fail. It was a goal fail. But the good news is I said I wanted to have it done by the end of February. So I'm, you know, with what I've done today, I'm on track. And the reason it took me so long to do this was just because, well, I really didn't want to. Also, when, like, this is something I needed to do in daylight, but I wasn't really motivated to do it on weekends. So I'm off today for bereavement, and I decided that's why I would do it today. So, love note. And it's gonna look so good. I'm so excited. I need to finish this. I need to finish it real bad. And it's super soft. Like it's super soft. I don't actually really like working with mohair though. That's one thing I've learned from this experience. But we all need to learn. So I talked about my FO. I talked about my 2 sock whips, and then I talked about my sweater whip. I'll talk about my other resolution fail, kinda. So, as I've stated, I was in California last week for work, and And I had previously set a goal for myself this year that I wasn't going to buy any more yarn until April. But we were in the Bay Area for work, and the last time I was out there in May for training, I wanted to go to a yarn store out there, a specific yarn store out there, and I didn't get a chance to go. So we had a little bit of extra time on Monday when we flew in, because we flew in, and with the time change we were able to leave a little bit early, and I went to the yarn store I wanted to go to. So I went to my friends were so, like, my friends that I traveled with, Roberta and Erica, were so kind and patient and willing to go with me to a yarn store, which neither of them know how to knit. But it was kind of funny because they could hear me speaking the lingo and they were picking up on it a little bit. So anyway, I failed at my one resolution to not buy any more yarn until April, but the reason I'm not calling it, I don't want to say vacation yarn doesn't count as stash, because I wasn't really on vacation, but I was never going to have another, I don't think I'm ever going to have another opportunity to go there anytime soon, at the very least, just because I don't really travel. So I'm a horrible flyer. You don't want to travel. You don't want me to travel. Nobody wants me to travel. It's horrible. So I went to a store. It was on Haight Street, called Firebird Yarns. And What can I say? It was a nice little space. It was little though, which is fine. You know, you can pack a lot of yarn into a small space, as many people know who knit. So they had a bunch of brands that I wouldn't be able to get at home. And it just, if I ever do go back to the Bay Area, I'm definitely gonna have to go there again. But I did buy yarn, so I'm gonna tell you, these are brands I can't get at, well, these are brands I don't get at home in my local yarn stores. So I actually bought 2 skeins of yarn and I feel so bad, but at the same time I'm not, because I know exactly what I'm gonna do with these. So this is one color. It's Seismic Yarns, and it's in the San Francisco collection that she has, and the name of this color is the Old Vic. And funny thing about the yarn store I went to, Firebird Yarns, it's on Haight Street, which is the same street that the Old Victorian is. So if you, so you can't really see, it's a beautiful red color with, I think, stellina in it. I think it's stellina. I don't think it's tencel or something. It is stellina. So it's also an 80-10-10, which it's merino, cashmere, and stellina. I've never actually bought a yarn with cashmere in it before, and it's so soft. But when I saw this yarn, I knew I needed it. This was like, I had other yarn in my hand, but I saw this one and I was like, okay, I need to make some choices because this is coming home with me. So I got this yarn, and within an hour buying it, I also saw the same building that it's named for, because they're on the same street. So I'm really excited. I know exactly what I'm going to make with it, and I don't know what else to say. I'm excited. I have the pattern for this sock already bought, so we'll see how fast I make it, but I'm really excited. So that was my Seismic Yarns purchase, and I'm so excited. I can't wait. And then this one is Machete Shop yarns, and I got this is the color Peachy King, and it's like, you know, I'm gonna make another pair of textured socks with it. This is either gonna be another pair of Hermione's everyday socks, or it is going to be another pair of morning coffee socks by the Crazy Sock Lady, because I'm just that person. I love the way speckled and like tonal yarns knit up on textured patterns. So that's what I'm gonna do with this one for sure. My friend, so Roberta, when she saw this yarn, she was like, are you gonna make mermaid scale socks with that? And because that's what she calls my morning coffee socks. And I was like, why, yes, I think I am. So resolution fail. Oh well, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. At least I have projects planned for them. And if I want to knit a sock real fast, I can. So I just have a couple things I need to wrap up first. If we have a little bit of time for chatter, I can talk. Like I said, I was in California. Oh, Firebird Yarns. So in addition to Machete Shop and Seismic Yarns, they had other brands that I just don't get at home either that I had to write down. But they have Cat Sandwich. They also have Hugh Loco. They had a lot, but those were the 4 that I really noticed. They also had mohair and that had like their own label on it. So I'll be completely honest, I don't know the story there, but it was really fun to be there. and I learned how to wind my own yarn because they have a Swift, but you wind the yarn yourself on the Swift. So it was my first time using a Swift, and it was fun. So I caked these myself, and it was, the lady there was very helpful. I also bought 2 project bags and 2 pins, and I'm gonna give 1 project bag and 1 pin to my friend Marissa, and the other I'm keeping. And I don't know if I can, well, I don't have the pin, and to be honest, I don't want to go get it. So that's just me being lazy. What else did I do in California? So I took the worst Uber ride of my life on our final night out there. We went from the office to a restaurant called Boudin's. I think it's a famous restaurant. I don't actually know if it is a famous restaurant, but I feel like people from the Bay Area probably know it. But we were going to a restaurant called Boudin's, which they're known for their sourdough and their seafood. Like I said, worst Uber ride of my life. I was not a happy camper at this restaurant. I wasn't mean to anybody, and I don't think I ruined anybody's time while we were there, but I was sick. I was sick to my stomach from that Uber, because we were in the Uber and we were, California is very different from Michigan. I'll just put it that way. I don't really mean it any kind of way. I don't mean it in a good way. I don't mean it in a bad way. But the Ubers out there are not like they are here. That people here don't, like, people here have SUVs. You don't really see SUVs in California. Not really. The Ubers were sedans, and any like Uber XL was a minivan that we had. So anyway, we're in an Uber. There's 4 of us. I'm in a car. One of my coworkers is 6'5". My friend Roberta is like 5'9", 5'10". And then it was me and my boss as well. But we were, the 3 of us, the 3 girls, were all in the back seat. The 6'5" guy was in the front seat. But we were just like sardines. So in addition to being like sardines, also I think just the traffic, it was just stop and go, stop and go. Also, the driver wasn't very good. He was not a very good driver. Anyway, a multitude of factors. I was so sick to my stomach. And then, so we got to the restaurant, and the first thing you notice when you walk in is the smell of sourdough starter. I love bread. Kind of like Oprah. Kind of like most people, I think. I love carbs. Carbs are my favorite. But the first thing that hits me is the smell of sourdough starter. Which, if you've made bread, you know that sourdough itself has a very distinct smell, but sourdough starter itself is, I want to say it's a very acidic smell, but it's very yeasty, but also acidic in a weird way. I don't know. It's a very distinct smell. So that's the first thing that hits me when we walk in, and I'm like, oh God, oh God, oh God. We sit down at the table, and they're famous for their seafood, like especially their clam chowder, and all I can smell seafood. Somebody orders oysters, and I'm just like, nope, nope, nope. Everybody else orders wine. I order ginger ale, which, funny story about ginger ale coming up, but I order ginger ale. Everybody else orders like wine. And they all order seafood for dinner, like, you know, apparently their macaroni and cheese, their crab macaroni and cheese was really good. I looked at the waiter and my stomach was just turning. So I looked at the waiter and I said, I'll have the plainest salad you have, please. So I got a mixed green salad with like an herb vinaigrette. And it still was too much. We're at the table, and the smell of sourdough hits me, and I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna make it. So, yeah, I got sick. I made it to the bathroom, but I got sick in the bathroom of a famous restaurant, which I'm sure not the first time, but not the first time for that restaurant or anybody really in the scheme of things. But maybe I'll edit that out. I don't know. So yeah, boudins. I felt better afterward, but just there was no way I was gonna survive that. And I couldn't eat after that. But we went that same day because Boudin's was down on Fisherman's Wharf. So we went down to Pier 39 and we saw the sea lions, and then we went into the little tourist trap shops right there too. And I got some things. Someone just texted me. So we went in there, I got some things, including a patch for my jacket, which is gonna go with the pin I got from Firebird Yarns. And then, but most importantly, I bought postcards because that's what I do. So I bought 5 postcards, 4 for other people, 1 for myself, and the one that I sent to myself is already here. That was fast. I actually took, before I went out there, I went to the post office and I bought postcard stamps. So if anybody is aware, postcard stamps are really like if you're a postcard sender, don't waste your money on forever stamps. Get postcard stamps. They're cheaper. But I don't know, that's kind of, well, ginger ale story. And then I will leave you alone, I guess. Sorry about that. I keep getting interrupted. This time my battery was in mortal peril, so I had to stop and charge it. Anyway, where was I? Ginger ale story. So Friday, the day that we left San Francisco, we went to the airport and we were flying out Delta because Delta is not very big out there on the West Coast, but the airport here, Detroit, Wayne County, that airport is a major Delta hub. So it's easy for us to get a flight. It's easy to get a Delta flight out here. So we went to the airport and we went to the terminal where they have the Delta planes. Not a single store, not a single store in that airport terminal had ginger ale. And if it were just me, I would have been fine. I would have just gotten Sprite. But at this point, all 3 of us kind of like had upset stomachs. Well, no. I need ginger ale to fly. That is like, it's like my security blanket. The other 2 had upset stomachs, so they needed their ginger ale. I walked through that terminal, which is not very big. It's not a big terminal at all. So I walked through that terminal looking for ginger ale for a store that sold ginger ale. Not one spot in that terminal had ginger ale. So I went to the restaurant that was in the terminal and I waited in line for 15 minutes and they said, "Oh, is it just you?" And I said, "Yes, it's just me, just one." So they put me at the bar. So I went to the bar and they ignored me for like 5 minutes and then they got to me and then I said, "I have a strange request." I said, "I need 3 ginger ales in to-go cups." So they gave it to me. We'll see what happens. I feel like I'm in a Dan and Shay song, but except for 10,000 hours, I have 10,000 interruptions. So anyway, no ginger ale. I had to get it out of to-go cups. And the funniest part is, well, not even the funniest part. It was just the guy at the bar who was sitting next to me gave me the funniest, oddest look. Like, that is a strange request. It's so random. Yeah, well, no stores in this friggin' terminal have ginger ale, and we have 3 people, 2 of whom have upset stomachs, and 1 of whom is going to have an upset stomach. So yeah, that's my ginger ale story. I don't really think I have a whole lot of chatter. I don't think I have a whole lot of a chat otherwise. I'm currently on bereavement, which is why I'm off today. But it's like, it's 4:45. My friends at work are almost off, but I'm out on bereavement just due to my grandpa passing away. I waited until the end of the week because I wanted to make sure everything at work was in order for me to take some time off. But yeah, I mean, not a whole lot other than just the fact that things are kind of sad right now because one of my grandparents is gone. It's not too bad, and like I said, Grandpa, I loved him dearly. I don't feel like I was close with him, but you know, instead of going to church, I would visit my grandparents every Sunday growing up. So I think especially in the last few months of his life, I've learned a lot about him. And I've said it a lot. I'm lucky I had him for as long as I did. So, before I get interrupted again, I'm gonna sign off. Thank you for tuning in. I hope this wasn't too long. And until next time, please go watch someone else's podcast, and I'll see you again. Happy knitting. Have a nice day. Bye.